They do represent our government, okay? Sorry, Simon obviously represents our government, not the whole panel. But I just wanted to remind you of that point. I think it's important. And we shall start with, all of you, I think, have a list of the speakers. We will go pretty much in order of speakers, okay? I'll just introduce Carlos Jordan, representing the Council of San Roque. Pepe Carrasco, who is, José Carrasco is the Mayor of Casares. Mario Jiménez, who is your Mayor here from Manilva. We have Mr. Simon Manley, our British Ambassador to Spain. We have Derek Landley, who is the Vice President of Andalucía to the British Chamber of Commerce. We have Alex Radsford, representing My Lawyer Spain. We have Mayra Azopardi, representing Citizens Advice Bureau Spain. We have Joni Burnett, representing the college, the Official College of Administrators in Malaga. And we have Álvaro, I forgot over his first name, Martinez, representing La CaixaBank, who is one of our sponsors today. And being one of the main banks in Spain, we think is important that you have a few words from him to give you the confidence to know what's going to happen or not happen with regards your bank account, British bank accounts. So I'll pass the microphone for Carlos to say a few words, and also Carlos has kindly offered to translate for both of our local mayors. Okay? Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's a big responsibility today starting this off, but anyway, we're going to kick off with just a few words. I suppose we're still a bit in the dark yet. We don't know what the outcome's going to be. The date's coming closer. But just to say, as the representative of the Foreign Residents and Tourist Board in San Roque, the San Roque area, you've got all our backing. If you need any help at all, just like Dean at Manilva Town Hall, I'm there for any queries you have at all. And I think we've got to look on the bright side of things, because the British and Spanish government seem to be on good terms, so I'm sure that, leaving Gibraltar aside, let's say, everything should go smoothly. And in any case, the local authorities like San Roque are there to support you all, so let's just keep our chin up and hope things go well.
Gracias. ¿Tú me vas a traducir? Sí. Gracias.
Despacio, sí.
Despacio y breve. Bueno, buenas tardes, sean todos bienvenidos. Señor embajador, señora cónsul, ponente, alcalde de Manilva, Mario, Dean. Gracias al Ayuntamiento de Manilva, gracias a Dean por invitar a Casares a esta jornada que nos parece muy importante. Puedo ver muchas caras de casareños, de personas que han elegido Casares Costa o Casares en su interior para vivir, y como digo, agradecerle el que nos hayas invitado y el que haya invitado a los residentes, a los ingleses residentes o británicos residentes en Casares. Para nosotros, para mí, es un placer el poder estar aquí representando a todos ellos, representando al pueblo de Casares y, cómo no, pues mostrar nuestra disposición a ayudar y a colaborar en todo aquello que creáis necesario desde el Ayuntamiento, que podamos prestar dentro de nuestras posibilidades para ayudar y tratar de despejar las dudas. Un poquito, estoy terminando. Creo que a partir de ahora, ya una vez que se abra la jornada, las personas que están aquí representadas en la mesa son personas que tienen gran conocimiento e intentarán despejar las dudas que vosotros podéis tener, que me imagino que son muchas, igual que las podemos tener nosotros, y espero que una vez que finalice esta jornada pues se vaya un poco más instruidos, más sobre lo que puede ocurrir en un futuro próximo. Nada más, mi disposición y gracias. Tengo que decir que me tengo que ausentar dentro de un ratito, tengo otro acto a las 5 de la tarde, pero quería estar aquí para mostrar el apoyo de Casares a todos vosotros.
Right. Basically, the Mayor of Casares has thanked the board and Manilva Town Hall in particular, and Dean as the Councillor for Foreign Residents, and he's glad to be here, and he's seen a lot of familiar faces of residents from Casares, of British residents there. And that the town hall at Casares is at your disposal as well. And really, we are really going to let the people that really know what's going on talk and clarify any doubts we have, basically. He's going to have to leave in a bit, so he's just said that he's got to make a move soon. Okay.
Gracias.
Buenas tardes a todos y bienvenidos. La cuarta vez que tenemos el placer de organizar este seminario para daros a conocer todas las inquietudes que tengáis, personas totalmente cualificadas. Yo me gustaría dar las gracias al señor embajador por contar y a todos los ponentes de la mesa y a todos los que han participado de alguna manera alguna vez en este tipo de encuentros. Para mí, como alcalde, como máximo responsable del Ayuntamiento de Manilva, sois mis vecinos y así lo siento y os quiero proteger igual que a cualquier otro. De modo que estoy con vosotros en este sentido, os apoyo y es fundamental que estéis, que no tengáis incertidumbre, porque seguramente que todo se arreglará y quedará bien. Que es muy importante que estéis empadronados en vuestra residencia, tanto en Casares, en Manilva, en San Roque, donde viváis, porque es fundamental para tener un sitio, si al final hay alguna decisión drástica, que creo que no será así, pues que no os coja a pie cambiado. De modo que muchas gracias, espero que sea de vuestra utilidad todo lo que se va a decir esta tarde y a vuestra disposición siempre.
Right. Well, the Mayor of Manilva's just stated it's the fourth seminar now, and like the Mayor of Casares, he considers you all to be his neighbours, and that he wants to have a close relationship with you all. That all the doubts you might have, that hopefully they'll be all cleared up today, and that the council is there to help you all, and that he wants to make sure that you all get on the census, that you are registered, and that will make things a lot easier as well for both sides. Thank you.
Okay. I'm not sure if I caught, our Mayor from Casares may have to leave pretty soon because he's got another engagement at 5 o'clock. So just excusing him if you see him get up and leave, okay? Now, the moment you've all been waiting for. I introduce you to our Ambassador, Mr. Simon Manley.
Well, Dean, thank you very much indeed. Thanks very much for organising this. Señores alcaldes, muchas gracias por su presencia y por su apoyo a nuestros ciudadanos británicos aquí en la comarca. Carl, thank you very much too for your support. But a big thank you to each and every one of you who's come here this afternoon. I'm sure there are better ways to be spending your beautiful February afternoon than here with me, but I'm very touched that you're here, and I recognise that you're here because many of you have got concerns and questions about where we stand today. And I'm going to try to explain where I think we are. We're in this process and what this means for all of you, and most of all, what you can do, each and every one of you, where you can tell your friends, your neighbours, your family members about what they can do too. So where are we as of today? As you'll know, just to kind of rewind a second, back in November we secured a deal with our European partners on a withdrawal agreement and a political declaration. Withdrawal agreement that covers our exit from the European Union, but also establishes a transition period up to the end of 2020, in which basically the norms and rules of the European Union continue to apply to the UK and to Brits overseas, but in which we are no longer a member state of the European Union. We no longer take part in decisions about new laws, new regulations within the European Union. We also, I said, agreed a political declaration. Political declaration is not a legal document, but it does envisage the form that the EU 27, the 27 remaining member states of the European Union and the UK, the form of relationship that we want to have in the future, on which we would start to negotiate as soon as we leave the European Union, as we expect on the 29th of March this year. And I know a lot of you have been following the ins and outs of the subsequent process in the British Parliament. Because as you know, that withdrawal agreement can only enter into force once it has been approved, ratified, not just by the British Parliament, but also by the European Parliament. And that's the process which the government has been engaged in over the last few weeks and months. And as you'll know, following the vote last week in the British Parliament, in the House of Commons, which supported the deal, but subject to us making legal changes, what's known as the Northern Irish backstop, to reflect concerns felt by members of many parties in the House of Commons. That's what the government is currently doing, talking to our European partners, in particular talking to the European Commission and the European Council about how we might reflect the will of the British Parliament so that we can take that agreement back to the House of Commons, secure ratification in the House of Commons, and then take it to the European Parliament. What does all this mean for all of you? So I think the important thing, and I will try to distinguish between what we sort of call in shorthand deal and no deal scenarios. Yeah? So in the case that we have a deal, so the withdrawal agreement we agreed with our European partners is duly ratified by the British and European Parliaments. Your rights as citizens here in Spain, like those of Spaniards living in the UK, will be guaranteed with the force of international law, because that withdrawal agreement becomes an international legal treaty. Somebody says to you, when you kind of, oh, but by what right do you think, you have right to healthcare, right to your pension, right to residency? You can say, by force of international law. That's the great advantage of the withdrawal agreement. And I hope you are familiar with the broad lines of that, which would maintain your rights to healthcare, would maintain your rights to residency, would, among other things, also ensure that your pensions here, if you've got a UK state pension, that your pension would continue to be uprated as it has been hitherto, and that any pension that you have accrued by working here in Spain would be aggregated along with any pension contributions you have in the UK. So broadly, rights continued as before, but with that force of international law. No deal situation. Both, I think the first thing, really important thing to say, is that both the British and Spanish governments, both the British and Spanish Prime Ministers, both Theresa May and Pedro Sanchez, have said that in a no-deal situation, they will work to protect the rights of citizens. That they want to ensure that those citizens' rights are protected even if we do not have a deal. But there are differences, because we won't have that international legal treaty governing all of this. So in some of these areas we have to, there will be differences, and in some of these areas we need to secure bilateral agreements with Spain in this case to ensure the application of those rights. Now I know there's been a lot of particular concern about healthcare. Both British and Spanish governments have said that we want to maintain healthcare coverage for people already in Spain, already in the UK. To say, what we now have to do is to find an agreement with Spain about exactly how that is done. But the intention of both governments is clear, that you would continue to benefit from healthcare here in Spain as Spanish residents would in the UK. In the case of pensions, difference, we have committed to continue to uprate those pensions through 2019 and 2020, but have said that we need a reciprocal agreement with Spain or with other member states if that's to continue in the future, because without that, the default position is that which applies to pensioners outside the European Union right now. If you're a pensioner in the United States, in Australia, or wherever, you do not have your pensions uprated as you would do in the European Union. So what we agreed in the withdrawal treaty was a special treatment for people already resident in the UK, already resident in the European Union at the moment of our departure. The other difference, of course, is about travel. Both our government and the European Commission have said that we would maintain, in the case of no deal, visa-free travel for periods of up to 90 days in any 180-day period. So if you were going to go visit friends or family who lived in France or Spain or in another member state of the European Union, you would be able to do that without having to secure a visa. Really important note, passports. Again, one of the differences in a no-deal scenario is you would need to ensure before you travel that you had at least 60 days on your UK passport to travel. Yeah? So there are some detailed differences in those two scenarios, and I'm happy to try and explore those further, or indeed Charmaine, our consul here down in Malaga, who's down the front here, happy to say that in more detail. But there's one thing that is a constant in both scenarios, deal or no deal. And I cannot stress this strongly enough, and I know the Mayor's already referred to it. And that is legal residency. Yeah? If you look at the terms of the withdrawal agreement, it talks about maintaining these rights, healthcare, pensions, residency, all the rest, talks about maintaining these rights for those who are legally resident upon our departure. And actually in the case of the withdrawal treaty it says that that extends to those who become legally resident up to the end of the transition period at the end of 2020. In the case of no deal, we're just assuming that the best way that somebody can access those rights which we're trying to protect is by being legally resident and having proof of that. Yeah? What does that mean? That means having that A4 green piece of paper that you get from Extranjería, from the police. If you haven't got it yet, if you know somebody who lives here who hasn't got it yet, please apply now. There is nothing more important than you can do to prepare for our departure from the European Union than getting that green piece of paper and ensuring that you have proof of your legal residency here in Spain, because that, deal or no deal, is the access point for the rights and services that you should enjoy. And I know some of you may be facing particular practical problems about doing so, because if you haven't registered hitherto, and you try to do so, perhaps they say to you, and you're not yet retired, and you've previously been able to get healthcare through a convenio especial, and now you're saying, here in Andalusia, it's not available anymore. We know that's a problem. I've been talking about it just this morning to the subdelegada here in the province of Malaga. I spoke about it yesterday to the Minister, Meritxell Batet, who's responsible for the whole sort of public administration. We've identified it as an issue, and we're working with the Spanish government to see what can be done about it. So I recognise that some of you may have confronted problems in trying to secure that residency if you have not done so yet. But please, please, this for us is the most important thing that you can take away from this evening. That if you haven't registered yet, if your friends haven't registered yet, please do so now. Now, I realise this is a period of uncertainty and there's a lot of rumour, and there are a lot of things you'll read in the British media, a lot of things you'll read in the Spanish media. So it's also really important, I think, to try and keep yourselves as best informed as you can. What we're trying to do here this evening, but it's also what you can do online as well. If you go to the British government website, www.gov.uk, you'll find there's a specific section on Brexit. There's a specific section on living in Spain, called Living in Spain. You can sign up to alerts on that guide. There's a specific Spanish government website on the Moncloa website. Sets out what they are proposing to do in the case of no deal. In the next few days we expect they're going to publish a draft law, draft decree that sets out those arrangements in more detail. We will continue to keep you informed as soon as we have more information, more detail upon what arrangements we put in place here in Spain for all of that. So sign up to those Living in Spain guides. You can follow us on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, and we will continue to push out information. I'm working also with the expat media here across Spain to try and ensure that the messages are passed through those medias as well. So I recognise that uncertainty. I recognise for many of you it's worrying what's happening. But we are working with the Spanish government as well as our own government to ensure that we can try and give you as much clarity as you have, as much certainty as you have moving forward. Because I think we all know our determination as a government is that all of you who have chosen to come and live here in Spain or in other parts of the European Union can continue to live as you've done hitherto, just as we hope that those 3 million Europeans who have chosen to live in the UK can continue to live, study, work in the UK as they've done hitherto, if that's what they choose to do. Because we value your contribution to Spanish society, and we value their contribution to British society. Thank you very much.
Okay, no rest for a refreshment, and I'm passing you over now to Mr. Derek Langley, Vice President of the British Chamber of Commerce, Spain.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you, Dean. Thank you for the Ayuntamiento de Manilva. Colleagues from the British Chamber here today, the British Consul, Charmaine O'Boone, and everybody. Thank you very much. My name is Derek Langley. I am the Regional Vice President for the British Chamber of Commerce here in sunny Andalusia and a member of its Governing Council. For those of you who are not familiar with the Chamber, the British Chamber of Commerce was established in Spain in 1908 after an attaché of the British Embassy on a visit to Spain in 1907 was asked to investigate business opportunities for British companies in Spain, and thereafter we've gone from strength to strength. Today, we're the only British Hispanic trade association in Spain, with offices in Andalusia, in Madrid, and in Barcelona. Our members include some of the largest foreign investors in the UK economy and FTSE-listed companies with interests in Spain, generating billions of pounds in trade and employing many thousands of skilled workers. Regardless of Brexit, the UK and Spain boast a strong historical trading relationship and continue a close relationship till this day. The Chamber's role is to represent and lobby on behalf of its member companies through its advocacy committee, the delivery of its barometer of trade and investment between Spain and the UK, and heavy promotion via our networking events and seminars across the country. Each year we put on over 50 very large events throughout Spain, which is quite an achievement. We maintain a very close relationship with the British Embassy, and the Ambassador just happens to be sitting next to me today, the British Consul, The consulate in Malaga, the Department of International Trade in Iberia, strong relationships, all with a common goal, to make life easy for British residents and businesses in Spain and vice versa. Regarding Brexit, way back in 2016, the British Chamber of Commerce conducted a survey of its members, and not surprisingly, 97.44% of respondents voted to remain in the UK. And with a relation to pure business, 70% of business said at that time an exit would seriously affect their businesses as well. In this region, we have many small and medium-sized businesses and some large ones as well. And they range from companies in Malaga, in Seville, and also in Gibraltar. Today, we are working with our members to assist them in this difficult time. However, the Chamber remains optimistic and trusts that a positive outcome will evolve in the very near future. Thank you very much.
Okay, moving swiftly on, I'll now pass you on to Alex Radford of My Lawyer Spain.
Can I use this one? Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to thank Dean and the mayors for inviting us along today, and also Simon for coming back down to Manilva. We're touched too that you're here. My name is Alex Radford. I'm an English solicitor and Spanish lawyer. My parents moved to Spain in 1981 when Spain wasn't a member of the EU. I went to an English school first to start off with in Fuengirola, St. Anthony's College, and then as my parents saw that I wasn't learning any Spanish, they put me in a Spanish school. Within 6 months I could speak Spanish, and I carried on through the Spanish system and returned to the UK to study law in '92. I came back to Spain in 2003, and now I'm a partner with My Law in Spain. I continue to practice English law and also Spanish law. I'm going to talk to you this afternoon just about what advice we're giving to our clients in relation to Brexit and what our views and impressions are. Last year, 82 million people visited Spain. It was the second most visited country in the world after France. Of those, 18 million Brits came to Spain. So you can imagine how important the British visitors to Spain are to Spain's economy. Of those, 1 million Brits live and spend a considerable amount of time here in Spain. And Spain will not be saying adios to them with or without a deal. Spain wants those British people to stay in Spain, to continue to come here and spend their euros. Last night I was on the Association of British Travel Agents website, just having a look at what the trends are for bookings. And between April and October of this year, bookings are up by 35% for Spain compared to last year. That gives you an indication of the trends and what British people are thinking about in regards to the forthcoming summer. At the end of the day, British people want to come here, want to come on their holidays, they want sun, blue skies, sunshine and a nice holiday, and Spain's got it. And Simon, something for you. I did actually see that you can come back to Spain when your tenure finishes. You can book a 4-night break at the Wellness Spa Hotel in Puerto Banús for £229. So we look forward to seeing. I don't have a job, I may need to. we look forward to seeing you back here soon. As some of you may know, Simon's leaving in August, and he's been a wonderful ambassador, I think, for the UK in Spain. Very approachable, very friendly, and he's really engaged with the British public in relation to Brexit. So thank you, Simon. So what have we been advising our British clients? Really just echoing some of the comments from the mayors. We're helping our clients become residents. If you spend more than 6 months a year in Spain, 183 days to be exact, then you should become a Spanish tax resident. That means the year after you arrive, you submit a Spanish tax return on your worldwide income and assets. Part of the residency process is going down to the town hall and registering on the padron. That basically means that you are on the census, and if you wish to vote in local elections, then you have to sign a separate form. We are also recommending to our clients that if they've moved to Spain permanently, that they should apply for a Spanish driving license. Why not? We live in Spain, we should have a driving license if you can. If you have Spanish assets, we're recommending to our clients that you have a Spanish will. as a result of EU Regulation 650, which is not going to be affected by Brexit. All British residents who have assets in Spain can freely dispose of their assets in Spain. So you can leave your assets to whoever you want in Spain or elsewhere in the world. That's not the case for Spaniards. Under Spanish inheritance laws, they have to leave 2/3 of their assets to their children, and they can only freely dispose of 1/3. So certainly, consider having a Spanish will if you've got Spanish assets. Joni raised this point last year about passports. If you live in Spain for more than 10 years, then you can apply for a Spanish passport. However, in light of what I've just said before in relation to Spanish inheritance tax laws, if you take out a Spanish passport, just bear in mind that you will be treated as a Spaniard, and when it comes to inheritance tax and laws, you will have to give 2/3 of your assets to your children. That may not be what you want, it may be what you do want, but just consider that if you are taking out a Spanish passport. And lots of our clients have said to us, well, I'm going to apply for an Irish passport. But it doesn't really matter what passport you've got, because at the end of the day, when it comes to paying tax in Spain, what Spaniards look at is they look at where you are a tax resident. So if you're a tax resident in the UK, even if you've got an Irish passport, you'll still be subject to the tax, for example, non-residence income tax if you don't live here as a British person. As opposed to a European. We suspect that, for example, if you own assets in Spain and you're not resident here, then you'll pay maybe a high rate of tax after Brexit. Currently it's 19% for European nationals. It may go up to 24%. But that's only for British people who don't live here permanently. You'll be amazed that we've had quite a few people come to us. They've been working under the radar for quite some years, and now they've decided to pay tax and go legal, and we've helped them with that. Companies, we've seen a lot of companies, instead of British companies or English limited companies setting up in Spain on their own and then registering here, what we've found out, or what we've been seeing, is that British companies are becoming shareholders in Spanish SLs, and they're operating out of a Spanish SL, so a limited company, rather than an English company. I think that's also good advice. I was very delighted to see in the press last month that a bilateral agreement, the first bilateral agreement, was signed between Spain and the UK. No doubt, Simon, you had some involvement in that? Yeah? And for me, that's a sign of things to come, because if there is a no deal, then I'm pretty certain, because of the 18 million Brits coming here on a yearly basis, the million Brits that own property and come back on a regular basis, and those of us that live here, there'll be an agreement quite quickly. As I said, when my parents moved to Spain in 1981, we had a residency which we renewed on an annual basis, and we had to leave the country for a day and come back. So it was a short trip to a short trip to Portugal, passport stamped, and back we came, and we started the residency process again. So I'm confident that in the event of an agreement, all our rights that we continue to enjoy will be respected, and if there is no agreement, I'm pretty certain that an agreement will be brought about fairly quickly. I personally am disappointed that if there is a second referendum, which I don't think there should be a second referendum, because I believe I'm more of a Democrat than a Brexiteer or a Remainer whinger, whatever they're calling them. I'm a Democrat, and I believe that the British people voted to leave, and we should leave the EU, with or without a deal. But I'm hopeful that we will leave with a deal, so it will be an orderly exit. However, Simon, something for you to take back to Whitehall is that consistently, consistent governments over the last I think 20 years now, have been promising that anyone who lives outside of the UK after 15 years, they lose their vote at the moment, and they've promised to reverse that law. And it would be very good for us to see that law, because my last vote was actually in the referendum result, and if there is another referendum, I won't be able to vote. So from my own personal selfish point of view, if you could take that back to Whitehall, I'd be very appreciated. Okay? So ladies and gentlemen, yes, many of our clients are really quite concerned. The healthcare issues, the pensions have been raised, but I do think we've got some pretty sensible people in Spain and the UK, and sooner or later a deal will be had. But until there is a deal, there is no deal. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'd now like to introduce you to Mayra Sopardi of Citizens Advice Bureau of Spain.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. I think a lot of you may know Citizens Advice in Spain. We were here before. I can't take it out. Can't remove it. Okay, sorry. We've been in existence way before Brexit, working with all the relocation issues and mainly residency, helping you with healthcare. So we've helped you before Brexit, and obviously from almost 3 years ago, we have been following the negotiations, because it's been okay saying we don't know anything, but we couldn't wait. And what's happened is people are now contacting us frantically who were thinking we didn't know anything and wanting to get everything in order at the last minute, with only, I think, 7 weeks to go. So I'm so glad that besides our usual knowledge of EU directives on residence and the Spanish royal decrees, we've been able to inform. We've got over 41,000 on the website, so a lot of people are depending on us. I'm also going to cover residency, maybe not as positive as Simon or Alex, but you know, we have to get down to the nitty-gritty. The agreement that was mentioned by Simon from November 2018 is still in place. That's in part, the citizens' rights is in place. And basically what that says is, accordingly, legal, natural persons shall in particular be able to rely directly on the provisions contained or referred to in this agreement which meet the condition for direct effect under union law, which just means that's where we can look to see what our future will bring. So residency, I think it's important. I hope I don't repeat what's been said. No deal is quite simple. And Moncloa, the Spanish government, have said what I've been saying since last year, well over a year ago, that we would need to update our residency certificates because we'll no longer be EU citizens. So no deal. We have to go for the TI, Tarjeta Identificación Extranjero, the foreigner's card, like everybody else that's non-EU, and that will be under the foreigners regime. This concerns me a little bit because the difference between being a EU citizen and applying or updating a residency is, just one example, resources for EU citizen should be only asked for €5,488 a year. This is a minimum pension, non-contributory pension. For non-EU, the resources they ask for is €25,816.35 for one person. I don't know if people realise the advantages that we've had. We get permanent residence, non-EU get long-term residence. I think it's important that we're ready for some differences. We can't really think that we are so special. No matter how many of us are spending money here, remember that the residency law, the 2004 /38 EC was transposed into Spanish domestic law in 2007. So it's not a choice of Spain just deciding it's going to do what it likes. It must also adhere to the EU directives. Right? Okay, so that doesn't sound very good. So we don't want a no deal. So I don't want 70-odd emails from the British government coming into my inbox talking about no deal, because that's what's happening. And I've had people very distraught contacting us and very concerned about what's in the media about no deal. The pension, Simon's explained, and the healthcare perfectly. There's no need for me to go there. A deal, as Simon says, is a 2-year transition period which can be increased. So, because, you know, we've seen since the referendum how quickly nearly 3 years has gone. And that's where you make your application for your new residency status and get the TIE, which is the photo card. Okay? Under for permanent residents and non-permanent residents, you can make your application for this, but it's not free of conditions. To say that we're going to be guaranteed that we can stay is not quite right, because we have to meet conditions. Okay? So this is why everybody's talking about being as legal as you can, and it's much easier for permanent residents than it is for non-permanent if you haven't been 5 years, though you do get the opportunity to build up to that 5 years. So as I said, it's subject to the conditions under the EU-UK agreement, which is on our website and other places for everybody to see. And the purpose of the application process is to verify the right to residence under the withdrawal agreement. If where that is the case, the applicant shall have a right to be granted the residence status and the document evidencing that statement. If this is under the withdrawal agreement, our CIE will be slightly different, we know that now, to the non-EU that already have theirs, because it will state that we've received that under the withdrawal agreement. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. It's a lot better than just going for a photocard as a non-EU. So we're going to keep those rights. For instance, our permanent residents, like I said, TIE, normally it's long-term. Right, deadline for the application period cannot be less than 6 months after the transition period. Cannot be before, 6 months, they can't. But if Spain wishes to, it can start letting us apply immediately, that we know when we enter the transition period, and please that they let us, because I think, let's be realistic, we know it's chaos just when to update or ask for a duplicate of your residency certificate. We've got Fuengirola, they've wanted to talk with me, the Policía Nacional, because they're sick of hearing me going, oh God, not Fuengirola again. Why? Because they're telling European community residents that their residency certificate or small card is not valid after 5 years. Wrong. Then the problem with a lot of the civil servants in the Policía Nacional stations is they're mixing up already non-EU law, non-EU applications with comunitario, it's called, which people from the community, which we still are, EU citizens. They're doing that now, they've been doing that for years, and God help us after we leave. So we're there to help everybody we can. We've been doing so already, asking people to prepare. Do follow our website, because we are updating as well, as much as we can. So don't get distraught, contact us or even the embassy if you, because you're being turned down. The deadline. There'll also be, Spain and all EU countries will be allowed to have a year's extension if for some reason they can't get you registered before. Like right now, we've got lots of people contacting us who are desperate because they can't get an appointment at the Policía Nacional. And really, it has to be done in your area. You will be, nobody, as far as we know, nobody received any information to tell you that you can go anywhere if there's a... Remember that the TIA will be issued in accordance with the withdrawal agreement, and it's very difficult to maybe understand what that is if you don't know the difference between the two applications. Non-permanent residents, this is the conditions. A permanent resident, which just means 5 years legally here, should be able to just give in your card, passport, criminality check, a security check, and then receive your updated card, your TIE. I fear that won't be the case, as now they're already telling people they want them to reapply when they just need to change an address. This is the sort of thing Citizens Advice deals with. We deal with all the problems. Right, you do realise we haven't got freedom of movement. It's already been mentioned by Simon to other member states. But we should remember there's quite a lot of UK nationals married to EU citizens. UK nationals, such as Spaniards or other nationalities. Do take into account, if you're one of these, that you're a little bit better off than the rest of us, because you will have hopefully, and for those applying in the future, make sure that your TIE card is issued under Article 10 of the European Directive of Freedom of Movement, and under that article it gives you the right to travel either with that card or with your spouse. So you're going to be better off than us with your freedom of movement. Remember, different for EU spouse, UK nationals married to EU or to the Irish. I'm not really taking notice of my notes because it's a bit daunting when you're wondering how long you've been talking for. Those changing for Irish passports, changing Irish passport to remain as EU citizen. Remember, at the moment, the police stations are doing that. Post-Brexit, we don't know if they're going to ask you. You're applying for TIE and say here's a different passport. They may ask you to start your application again. Basically, there's a lot more to say, but just remember we're there. We have a website. You can come and contact us as everybody does. The phone doesn't stop ringing now. Emails coming in, and it's all about Brexit. So try not to worry, chin up. We're there to help even those who are not able to get their residency before the end of the transition period, because we have a few tricks up our sleeve, all based on law, of course. Thank you.
Okay, just before moving on to Joni Burnett of the College of Administrators in Malaga, I'd just like to give opportunity to Simon to clarify one of the points just mentioned.
Maureen, I'm afraid this may come across as me disagreeing with you. Yes. But I really think it's really important that we're clear with people here this evening. I mean, a lot of you here this evening, and I don't want to kind of have you standing here for longer than you'd like to, but this issue of residency is absolutely key, and I don't agree with some of the things you've just said. So I just want to say it one more time, yeah, about the differences between the two situations of deal and no deal, and about residency, because residency, so again, absolutely key to accessing the right, to accessing the benefits and services, and enjoying the rights that both British and Spanish governments say we want to protect, deal or no deal. So under the deal scenario, under a scenario in which we ratify the agreement which we made with our European partners back in November, and which guarantees European citizens' rights in the UK, British citizens' rights in the EU27, your rights are protected by that agreement as long as you are legally registered as a resident by the end of 2020. By the end of 2020. The current Spanish rules, that means that green certificate, A4 certificate, green card that I hope you all have. If you haven't got it, go down and get it. UK nationals in Spain will have the right to stay here in Spain. No question about that, no doubt. Family members of those protected by the agreement, those people currently resident in Spain or resident by the end of 2020, will be able to move to join that person or those persons in Spain at any point in the future, as long as the relationship, that family relationship, existed before the end of 2020. Last, the Spanish government, and we talk to the Spanish government almost every day about all this stuff, and I've got a team talking to them today about healthcare in particular and working out what we might need to do in a no-deal scenario. But the Spanish have said that UK nationals who fall under the withdrawal agreement, as I say, those UK nationals here, already resident as of now, or who acquire legal residency by the end of 2020, will be issued with a new card in due course to replace that green certificate or green card. We do not yet know when that new card will be introduced and how you might apply for it. But don't worry. As and when that information comes out, we in the Spanish government will tell you, explain how you can apply for it, and by when. Yeah? That's all what happens if we have the deal ratified by the British Parliament and the European Parliament. In the case of no deal, in that case, you're not protected by a European agreement. So it's the duty of the British government and the Spanish government to protect the rights of Spanish nationals in the UK, British nationals here. But both governments have made the same commitment. We have both said that in the case of no deal, we will work to protect the rights of citizens. Yeah? We await the full details of how the Spanish government intends to do that. What they have said is that they will do it by means of a decree, and they set out some of that 2 weeks ago. It's available on the Moncloa website. I know from having spoken to the Director General of the Spanish Ministry of Foreign Affairs today and to the Subdelegada for Malaga province this morning that they are working on that royal decree and they hope to publish it in the next few days. And that will provide precise details of how all this is going to work. Yeah? But I come back to what I said in my comments. Anybody who is not already registered as a resident and living here in Spain needs to do that now, because we do not know whether there will be some sort of grace period after our departure on the 29th of March to do so. You remember in the deal scenario, you've got until the end of 2020. We don't know what that scenario is. So you should, if you're going to do it, you should do it as soon as you can. And I know, I was right, it's true that in some places we have had some issues about people's ability to register. And I picked up the specific point that we've got here in Andalusia about people who can't prove they've got healthcare coverage because of the loss of the Convenio Especial for pre-retirees. We're aware of that. Please do tell us if you run into those problems. I said to the Minister responsible yesterday, Matilde, that we would provide her and her colleagues evidence of where and when that is occurring so they can act upon it. And they are very keen to act upon it because we've been very clear with them and they've been very clear with us that they want to ensure that there is consistent application of these rules and regulations in each and every office of Extranjería, each and every police station in Spain. So there's one rule, one norm, one regulation for every British national resident here in Spain. Your green, even in a no-deal scenario, what the Spanish government have told us is that your green certificate, your green card, will remain a valid document, even once we are no longer EU citizens here in Spain. And at some point, they have said, at some point again, UK nationals will have to change that current documentation for a new form of documentation, a new card. We do not know when that will be or how that will work. And we don't yet know from them what the rules might be on family reunification or how exactly registration will work. But it is not true to say that you are going to have to suddenly find proof that you've got 25 grand or anything.
Sorry, with all due respect, that was on a no deal. That was talking about a TIA. All I said was the difference also. Sorry, Simon, and I do understand, but can you just agree that Moncloa and the agreements say that there are conditions to updating our residency, because that's written in the agreement?
But we're talking about. I just want to be clear, because I don't want people to go away from here suddenly thinking they've got to find 25 grand. I mean, or extra 25 grand. No, but I mean, I just want to be clear. We do not know what will be rules for registration in future, but the Spanish government has been absolutely clear at the highest possible level, and I've had those conversations with the ministers concerned, with Pedro Sanchez himself, and he says he wants Brits to stay here. And he wants those who are currently legally resident to continue to have that right, not subject to some new rule about their income. So if you're here, you've got your green card, you've got your green certificate, you are legally resident in this country. And that is the most important thing that you can do.
Okay, moving forward to Joni Burnett of the College of Administrators in Malaga.
Well, lots of interesting debates here. My name is Joni Burnett. I'm a Chartered Community Administrator and I'm part of the board of the Chartered Community Administrators in Malaga. Much like Alex, we moved here in the early 1980s when there was nothing of what we have today. There wasn't butter or cornflakes or tea in the supermarkets. And I think that's something that's important to remember. We had to go to Jib once Fonthill was opened to get cornflakes. Now, the benefits of today, most of you didn't suffer back then, but then we already lived in Spain in the 80s, so I'm sure everyone would have wanted to as well. Now, my angle is completely different because I'm part of a non-political organisation. The Chartered Community Administrators manage over 80% of communities in Spain, so it's our responsibility to look after your investments and your assets. Our angle is that all the foreign owners aren't only British. We've got lots of other nationalities. There's Argentinians, there's, I don't know, lots of non-European countries with owners who own properties in Spain. Now, it's more complicated for them because they have to do more paperwork at the end of the day to be able to live in Spain legally. But at the end of the day, it's just a matter of doing more paperwork. It's very easy and very simple for us to go down to the National Police, present 4 or 5 documents, done, and we're done, and we're perfectly legal. Now, if someone isn't European, and I know this firsthand, it is much more complicated for them, but it's not impossible. It just means that if you want to live in Spain legally, you have to be legal. None of this living under the radar has been possible and happened a lot over the last 20 years or 30 years in Spain. So everyone will have to become a bit more above board and a bit more legal. Now, running a community is much like running a small town or a village. There's urbanisations on the Costa del Sol with over 1,000 properties. We've got various urbanisations in Manilva with nearly that number of properties. It's all about managing the resources. And if these are managed properly, it means that your investment in Spain is maintained. Over the last 3 years since the referendum, the number of British owners has not dropped in these properties. Lots of properties have changed hands, but people selling and moving back, it isn't necessarily because they're afraid of Brexit. Some may because they want to, because they were under the radar. Okay, that's the real reason for selling and moving back. But most don't, because most know that if you've got an asset in Spain, if you've got a property here, you've got a roof over your head, you've got somewhere to live, and the rest is just a complicated procedure that you'll have to go for. So that's what we have to do. We have to protect your resources. You have to protect your investment so that you stay in Spain and live in these properties. Now, last year, we decided from the College of Chartered Community Administrators to set up a foreign residence department. Now, what we do in that department is that anyone who owns a property in Spain or rents a property in Spain can approach the college, which is an official organisation, and ask any questions that you may have. So saying Spain is different and that's just the way things happen in Spain is the excuse that many people have used over the years, and it isn't really true. It's an excuse so that they don't have to do the work. So this foreign residence department is to help owners who own properties to know what way to go, to know what they have to do. We obviously all know by now that you've got to register on the Padron. I'm not going to repeat it. That you have to have your residencia and that you have to do all your tax returns. We've heard that hundreds of times. I can't believe that someone hasn't already done that, because that's been the constant #1 point that we have been repeating for years now, even before the referendum was on the table, even before Brexit was in our imagination. You've got to be above board so that you have your rights, so that your family members do, so that your children do. We know that our work is going to start after Brexit. Everyone on this table, every professional person that you speak to knows that our work will start after Brexit. We will have to introduce new procedures. We'll have to introduce new ways of doing things. Many of you will have to learn Spanish. That's a biggie, so start that one soon, because you don't learn a language overnight. Because you'll need that in the future. If you do want to apply for Spanish nationality, if you want your children or your grandchildren to be able to move to Spain, do look at things in the long run. I was lucky. Unlike Alex, I was put straight into a Spanish school up in Casares village, so we learnt the language within 3 months, but then I was 6 years old, so it's pretty easy. Now it gets harder to learn languages with age. So those are things that you should start doing, okay? And, well, basically, that's what we do. We're here to advise, we're here to support. And to do that, last year we organised a seminar here for presidents and owners of properties in Spain. This will be held again in April this year here in Villa Matilde, hopefully. And we'll explain your rights as owners, obligations, how communities work, so that you understand at the end of the day what to do to maintain that investment. If the property market drops, everyone will have a financial issue, because as things go, your income, or the income of most retirees here in Spain, has dropped considerably. So we've got to make sure that the value of your investment goes up, so that we can carry on living as we do in Spain. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, before reaching the refreshment period, which I know some of you will be looking forward to, I'll now pass you over to Álvaro Martínez of La Caixa. Álvaro is the regional manager for Andalucía West. East. I always get it wrong. And as well, when we get to questions and answers, you'll have the opportunity as well to ask anybody on the panel any direct questions. And we'll have to limit the questions in time, okay? Because Simon also has to move on after being here with us. So without wasting any more time, I'll pass you on to Álvaro.
Gracias, Dean. Señor alcalde, señor embajador, buenas tardes, miembros del panel, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Just very briefly about CaixaBank. I guess that many of you know CaixaBank fairly well, and perhaps some of you are banking with us. CaixaBank is a Spanish, European, and international bank, a major bank in Europe. You should know that CaixaBank's charity is the third largest private charity or foundation in the world by assets. So we are a big business, but it's important to make this remark that we also, as we say, we have a soul, and we spend more than 500 million every year on social and welfare projects. I said CaixaBank is a Spanish international European bank. Just to give you some news, CaixaBank is opening branches in Australia and Canada, which, as far as I know, are not members of the European Union. And I don't think they have any plans to become members of the EU either. I'll be very brief. All I want to say is that before and after March the 29th, CaixaBank will be open for business as usual for you. The main reason for CaixaBank launching this brand called Hola Bank is because we had over 100,000 British banking with us in Spain. So because of you and some other European and international customers, we launched 4 years ago Hola Bank. As far as the bank is concerned, we don't foresee any significant changes in our policies in terms of taking new customers on board or lending mortgages or business loans to British customers in Spain. So whether you are an investor, whether you are a family, whether you are on a pension or working here, or you run a business in Spain, you will be welcome to come to talk to us before and after March 29th. That's all we can say. As I explained before, we do business with many different countries in and outside the European Union, and I think we should give a message, let's say, a continuity of business life. We don't think we should really be, obviously there are issues to be concerned in terms of residency, and just lastly I would like to say that you should take the ambassador's advice and go get your residency, your legal status here. I think that's good advice, but as far as we are concerned, we are and we will be open for business. Thank you very much, Any questions?
Okay, now for questions and answers. I'm afraid we're going to have to limit the time we have for this, which will give us approximately 20 minutes, okay? So please be short with the question, and panel, please be as short as you possibly can be with the reply. Just raise your hands for turn.
My question is to do with the rights that we as Brits have in the UK. Once we take residencia here, are there downsides to what we can expect to get in the UK? For instance, how about healthcare in the UK? By having residencia here, is that forfeit, or are there other downsides of being resident here? I don't know whether there's anyone on the panel that really wants to deal with that, because it's a kind of British, it's being located in the UK, so I don't know who deals with that. Perhaps the ambassador, I don't know.
If it's a question for the ambassador, we're going to take 3 questions in one hit.
I've got plenty around. Basically, can you get the residency without having private health insurance? If you don't work and you haven't registered S1 or anything like that?
Can I just ask, I'm under the age of 65, but I hold the Spanish health card. So can you just clarify something, Simon? In the event of a no deal, will this still be valid in, after the end of March? That's it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, let me do that, but Sean's going to, if I get them wrong, then I'll need to. she's going to tell me I've got them wrong and she'll correct me. So on the first, are your rights as a UK citizen affected if you take back in the UK? Are your rights as a UK citizen in the UK affected by getting residency here? Answer: no. Well.
Sorry? If you're a resident here and you're registered in the system here, then you're getting your healthcare here. Sorry, I don't know who was asking the questions. I'm just looking generally. Okay. So you should be receiving your healthcare here. Yeah. Are you a pensioner? Are you a state pensioner in the UK? No. Okay. So you're covered, if you're a resident here, you are covered by the Spanish system, yeah? Which means, because the UK system is a residency-based system, and because you're no longer resident in the UK, you are no longer given automatic access to the health service there. Okay? Does that answer the question? It's the same.
And the S1 states that I am entitled to healthcare in the UK.
Okay, so you're
I'm under the age of...
a very unusual person. Everybody go touch him. There are very few people that are not pensioners who have an S1. Yeah? But if you have an S1, my understanding is you are in the very fortunate position of still being able to use the NHS in the UK, but that is only holders of an S1. Yeah? And that's either way.
Which was about this problem, and we recognise it's a problem for those who are trying to register and who aren't in possession of an S1 and don't have private healthcare, yeah, or are trying to get it.
You do need to have proof of your healthcare cover, and if you are not paying into the system because you're not working and you're not a pensioner or have an S1, so being covered by the UK, then you have to have, well, you used to be able to use the convenio, but the Junta de Andalucía has suspended that, so your only option now is private healthcare. Yeah? That said, if there is anybody that is in this situation, would you just come up to me at the end? Simon has to leave at 6, but I can hang around, yeah? I'm just that kind of girl. So if anybody is in that situation, could you come and have a word with me at the end, because we may be able to find a way around it for you. Okay?
And it's also something that we've been, when we raised this morning, as I said, with the subdelegada, the gobierno, here in the province of Malaga, and I raised it yesterday with Mr. Batet, and we were raising earlier today with the health ministry. So we know this initiative out there.
Sorry, can I just say the citizens' advice have helped a lot of people in this area, even though the Royal Decree, the new law on universal health care, is not being put into action by some CCAAs. Andalusia did get rid of the convenio and put everybody onto that health care. We've also been able to get people to go to the health centre here, and they've actually been signed on. We've asked them not to do it with their EHRC because that's not correct. But a lot of people have been able to get under the new law, have been able to get health care in their residency. Thank you.
Sorry, just add to that, actually. Sorry, you can also register as an autonomo, so you're a self-employed person.
I'm working, so I'm paying into the system and I've got the health card. I was thinking of my family.
Well, basically, if you're registered and paying into the healthcare system, then you can add your family as beneficiaries of your healthcare cover. So they are also entitled to that healthcare cover. Okay? But yes.
Yeah, my husband and I are both in receipt of UK pensions. My husband also has a Spanish pension. We've been living here for 30 years, so we did not have the right to vote in the referendum. Clearly, the outcome of the referendum is going to financially affecting us. And I wonder, the gentleman who's the lawyer touched on this 15-year rule. Does it not contravene my human rights that although I am a citizen of the UK and I have a passport and I'm receiving a benefit from the UK, yet I'm not allowed to have a say in what is my future as well, and obviously other people's?
Yeah, you want to... No, I mean, so can I just respond to that one, because you're not the only person who's surprised. You'll be surprised to hear you're not the only person who said this to me in Spain over the last 2.5 years. So I recognise the frustration felt by tens of thousands of British people who would have loved to vote in the referendum. You know, the rules on who was able to vote in the referendum reflected our current legislation in place about who could vote, and obviously was the subject of a lengthy debate in the House of Commons and the House of Lords on a whole series of issues, not just about this, which was one of the issues that was discussed, also about the voting age, whether EU 27 nationals resident in the UK could vote. All these things were discussed. At the end of the day, Parliament decided that they should keep the qualifications for voting the same as they were in the general election. There is, as Alex alluded to, and I know this is not probably very much of a consolation, there is a piece of legislation making its way through the British Parliament that would end this so-called 15-year rule. It's what's known as a private member's bill, but it carries the support of the government because the government fought, the Conservative Party at least, fought the last election on a manifesto that promised to end the 15-year rule. It's brought forward by an MP called Glyn Davis. It was presented back in July 2017. It's a slow process. It comes back for its third and final reading in the House of Commons on the 22nd of March this year. So we're not there yet, but there is a process.
One subject that concerns some of us is driving licence, and the article in the paper was putting the position not too easy if you're still driving on the UK driving licence. Could you help us some?
Driving licences. I think what's the question? Whether you can still drive on the UK. You can still drive on the UK driving licence.
Some people, I not personally, but I know people who are resident here and still driving on British driving licences. What is their position?
Okay, go for it. Yeah.
Hello, we're talking about at present, aren't we? You have to remember that the DP or ministry, Spanish ministry, gives you 2 years after residency to be able to carry on driving with your non-Spanish licence. Due to a protocol, and I'm sorry I have to say it, the protocol is actually against, it's not actually within the law, because we're Citizens Advice Bureau, we have to just say it as it is. The simple reason that protocol, which tells you to change if you've got certain categories, we advise people to do it because you don't want a fine from the Guardia Civil. But the reason it shouldn't be law is because it wasn't simply transposed from the EU directive into Spanish domestic law. So you've got 2 years from residency. We're advising as the consulate, and everybody else is advising people to change their licences with Brexit looming.
Okay. All right. So all I was going to say is that if you're here, well, there are some rules which are, if you are no longer resident in the UK, you shouldn't be renewing a UK licence if you're no longer resident in the UK. So that's the first thing. It's a question that people quite often ask us, whether you have to change to a Spanish licence or not. The EU legislation doesn't make it clear that you have to, it says that you can. Yeah? After March, so, okay, yeah. So our advice to people is to change it if you are resident here. Yeah? Simply because we do not know if we are in a no-deal situation, we do not know whether our licences will still be acceptable, and therefore you can now do a simple exchange of a licence. We don't know whether in a no-deal situation you might actually be required to retake a test. Yeah? So our advice is that if you are resident here, you should exchange your UK licence for a Spanish licence. I do know that in Malaga there is a long wait for you to get the appointment to change the licence. I have been told reliably by people that you can do it in the provincia of Cádiz and that there's no waiting time in Cádiz. I would ask people, if you have tried to make an appointment in Malaga, take the appointment date, even though it's after March. And this morning we had a conversation with the subdelegada, who said that if we were aware of lots of people in Malaga having problems, we could let her know and they would be prepared to make special arrangements to allow us to have more appointments so that people could go in. So if you are having problems, if there are a lot of people that are having problems, would you please let me know? I'm here later, so you can come up and tell me. Yeah?
Also, just keep a proof
that you've asked,
that you've asked for the appointment, because that too might be helpful.
And sorry, there is one other question that people tend to ask, which is, if I change to a Spanish licence, will it be recognised in the United Kingdom when I go there? And the answer is yes.
Firstly, I'd like to thank the representatives from the local town halls for being here, because they seem to care more about us than the English government at the moment, to be honest. Effectively, most of us were thrown under the big red bus with the lie on by the government and by a flawed referendum, and I disagree totally with you that there shouldn't be a second referendum, because it was flawed, it was based on lies, there was possible Russian collusion. And I will ask. And fortunately, The demographic has changed in the last 2.5 years, and enough people have shuffled off the mortal coil, enough levers have shuffled off the mortal coil to change the demographic of a vote. So I totally disagree with you there. I would like Mr. Manley to take back a message to the government, which is many people here paid their taxes and their social insurance in the UK for 40-odd years, like my parents, and were denied that vote. And if there is a second referendum and there is a vote on the 22nd of March, I would ask you to take a message back that we want a right to have a say.
My question is actually for the Ambassador. A year ago, when you last visited us, or slightly over a year ago, I asked you the question, had the government made any preparedness for a no-deal Brexit? Your answer to me was, don't worry about it, it's all going to be fine, they know what they're doing. Roughly your words. With 51 days to go, the Irish Taoiseach has said that the possibility of the backstop being altered is a no deal. So therefore, it's not going to happen. We're going to have a hard Brexit. We're going to come out with nothing. My question is, are they actually prepared for this in any way, shape or form? Do they actually understand? And has Theresa May or anybody in the Cabinet actually read Article 50? Have they actually read it and do they understand what it means? Because from where I'm standing, from where we're standing, they haven't got a clue.
Do you want me to answer those?
Yeah.
Go on. So look, I'm making no assumptions about how any member of this hall, if they had a vote, voted in the referendum. I make no assumptions. Some of you may have voted in favour, some of you may have voted against, some of you may want a second referendum, some of you may not want a second referendum. My interest, the interest of my colleagues across Spain who work for the consulates, is that we offer you as great a clarity as we can about what you need to do in order to enjoy the rights and benefits that are due to you under the withdrawal agreement, or that will be due to you under the agreements that we make with the Spanish government in the scenario that we leave without a deal. I cannot understate the amount of effort that's going in London and across the diplomatic network on this issue. The resources are being put into planning for what would happen in the case of no deal. But look, we do not want to leave the European Union without a deal. The objective of the British government, the British Parliament, I think it was clear last week, is that we leave the European Union respecting the will of the British people in an orderly manner with an agreement with our European partners that is ratified by the British Parliament and the European Parliament, because we believe that that is the most sensible way to proceed and the way that we can best guarantee the rights of citizens and best protect the interests of businesses, British and European, and ensure the stability, security and prosperity of our European continent.
Ambassador, I have children in Gibraltar and I have a part-time job in Gibraltar. It is a no deal scenario, and given that you respect Spain's history in the past from time to time on the border, what do you think it will be like for those accessing on a regular basis Gibraltar and indeed exiting back into Spain as well?
Well, after I leave here this evening on my way to Gibraltar to speak to the Gibraltar Chamber of Commerce about exactly those sorts of issues. And as you might imagine, we're in daily contact with the Gibraltar government about these issues. And I think we both know, British and Gibraltar governments, but also to say the Spanish government, know the importance of border fluidity. And we know the importance of border fluidity, not people like your children who work, just for your children who work in Gibraltar, but for 9,000 Spaniards who cross that border every day to work, for the Gibraltarians who come and spend their money in the bars, restaurants and shops of San Roque and other parts of the Campo. It is in our shared interests that that border remains a fluid border, and that we can work together to promote the security and the prosperity of the entire zone around Gibraltar. It's in our shared interests, something that we are in daily discussion with the Gibraltar government, but also with the Spanish government. And yes, we have our differences, and I think those are clear, but I think we all share a desire and an interest to ensure the security and the prosperity of the whole area.
Maybe you're aware, you said no deal, if there's a deal under the agreement on citizens' rights, there's also the workers' rights and cross-frontier workers' rights, where they want to even, they're saying about you having a document so that you can enter and leave, because of the, no freedom of movement, deal or no deal. So there are, in the agreement, there are provisions for cross-border workers, frontier workers. Richard?
Yeah, I just want to clarify legal residency being NIE, padron, and fiscal declaration. Is that right? Is that what we deem as legal residence?
So you don't have to be fiscal resident.
No.
So, I mean, the most important thing is residencia. With all due respect to the mayor, because yes, the padron's very important, not least in terms of ensuring that the mayor has the resources he needs to cover the public services of Brits and others living here. But the most important thing in legal terms that you can have is residencia. Important, yes, please get on the padron, but if you had to do one thing, the three, residencia. And the tax, as Alex said with more clarity than me, depends upon your tax situation, your individual tax situation, and how long you're here.
So Simon, I went and renewed my residency last month. I had the A4 slip, and when we moved back to Spain in 2003, I took out permanent residency, and I was issued with a card that said permanent residency. We've moved house, we moved into Marbella, so I went to the police station last month, and I've got this new card. If you spend more than 183 days in Spain, then you need one of these cards. Okay, it's actually 183. But if you spend more than 183 days in Spain, you have one of these cards. And then you become what's known as a Spanish tax resident, okay? That's residency, and then Spanish tax residency means the year after you arrive, the Spanish tax year runs from the 1st of January to the 31st of December. The year after you arrive, you basically submit a tax return between May and June on worldwide assets and income. And that means you're a Spanish tax resident. To get one of those, you need to go on the padron. So that's a condition of having residency. Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much. I'd just like to ask a question on this question of the green card. And I've been to see Myra about this. The green card that I have was issued in 2012 because I lost my original one. I've been a resident since 1998. But the green card that I have currently does not say the word permanente on it. And I'm still trying to check whether it still counts as permanent residence. My wife's does, mine doesn't.
I just add to that. So we've talked about tax residency. When you're here for more than 183 days a year, you submit your Spanish tax return the year after you arrive. If you're over the age of 65 and you've been a tax resident for the last 3 years, when you sell an asset in Spain, then there's no capital gains tax. Okay? So residency isn't just about having the green card. It is also about coming forward and putting in that tax return the year after you've arrived. Okay? So it's very important to do that because that will entitle you to other benefits as well.
The law on dependency, the padron is really important because as we're all getting older, and MANILVA the social service in MANILVA is absolutely fantastic. El servicio social, señor, es fantástico en MANILVA, la verdad. And I'm saying that from experience. I hold a legal clinic and a lot of people come in. So after only 5 years on the padron, you're entitled to the ley de dependencia, the dependency law. And I have a lady who's 80 years old, and I envy her. She's fitter than I am. She has her ironing and cleaning done every day, including Saturday. There's somebody going in to check you. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but absolutely fantastic in Manilva. And then 10 years, if for some reason you find yourself on the padron, not your residency certificate, but that's important for Brexit, you can also apply for a non-contributory pension if you find that you've left with nothing. You can actually, and that actually works out now about €468 a month. So padron, very important, especially in Manilva.
Can I just add something about the registration certificate, because I think it does get confusing for people. And Alex is absolutely right about the tax residency bit. Obviously, I'm more concerned at this point about people simply registering as resident, yeah? So it will, as Alex says, have the implication the following year of you having to declare yourself as tax resident. I do believe that there are sometimes ways in which you can claim that your centre of interest is somewhere else, but that's kind of way beyond my level of knowledge of residence. What I would say is that if you have, so some people have the old green A4, some people have the little card that Alex has. I think there might have been at one point something that was in between the two. Our understanding is that it doesn't matter which of those you have, as long as the details on it are still correct. So as long as your name remains the same and your address is the same. If either of those two things change, you should be going to renew it. Yeah, it has. I don't know where it's done here. It's either going to be Extranjería or the Policía Nacional. Is it Policía Nacional here?
Policía Nacional, and it's important to say that, unlike the Spanish that can their identity card at any national police station, when you go for your residencia, for your NIE card, you've got to go to the one in your area. For instance, in the San Roque area, you've got to go to the national police station in La Línea. And there's a different one, so I assume the one here would be Estepona. If you live in Algeciras, Los Barrios, it would be Algeciras.
And I'm just going to be a little bit tickis-mickeys here. It's even though if you go now, you quite often get your NIE at the same time as your residency document. Please do not think if you've been here for a long time and you only have your NIE and you don't have the green document that you're registered as resident, because you're not. You need the green document. Yeah? It doesn't matter whether it says con carácter, as far as we're aware, it doesn't matter whether it says con carácter permanente or not. They do not expire. Yeah? However, I would advise people that they register with us at gov.uk living in Spain, which is where there is a guide. It's where the government, we update all of the new changes that are happening are being updated for Spain in that guide. If you register with us, you can get an email alert whenever there is new information. So as Simon was saying, we're waiting for the Real Decreto, which we're expecting in the in the foreseeable future, shall we say. As soon as there is any more detail from that about changes to registration, changes to driving licenses, any changes, they will be on that website, and if you've registered for an email alert, you will get an email that tells you that there's something that's changed. So that's my advice to anyone who what we're telling you is what is the situation today. In 2 weeks' time, there will be something that's changed. Okay?
Okay, we've overrun by 3 minutes, so after all of that, that's not too bad, I don't think. Anyway, to close the seminar, I would like to just finish up with a few words to say that if you're a resident of Manilva or you own property in Manilva and you need assistance getting on the padron or getting the appointment for your NIE certificates, if that's all you need, but mainly, like we've been talking today, for your resident certificate, which is the green document in any of its shapes, sizes and forms, We can assist you, and I say assist you, totally free of charge from our Department of Foreign Residents. Thanks to Maria Tomei, who is my personal assistant in that area. Please be patient with her because we have queues out of the door with all sorts of events and things that we deal with. But thankfully, we have somebody there that cares, speaks fluent English, and will do everything that she can do, and as will I, if I'm available and present, to help you for free to get your resident certificate. We cannot go in person with you to the police station, but we do help you fill in the forms. We get the forms for you. We get the appointment for you. So for you to just know that. I'd like to finalise by thanking every single one of the people on this panel. I don't need to name them again, but I would like to name Simon and thank him for his service to British citizens in Spain over the years that he's been representing us as our ambassador, this being his last year. Okay, and I'd like you to all, if you don't mind, show him a warm and for those of you that want to stay and ask a few extra questions, one-on-one, mingle, there's an invitation at the back of the room for everybody to sample some of our own local produce, which is Grande Select. It's a microbrewery that basically makes beer, okay, here in Manilva. A lot of you may know about it, but many of you probably don't. So if you'd like the opportunity to have a taste of one of our local produce, well, you're welcome. Thank you very much, everybody.
Well, first of all, the seminar today was very well received and very well conducted. I think we had over 120 people here. Simon Manley, the ambassador for the Chamber, made a few comments, as did the British consul from Malaga. At the end of the day, the government, both the Spanish and the English governments, are working very closely together to make sure that either with a deal or a no deal, that citizens' rights are maintained on both sides. They see this as paramount and extremely important because, believe it or not, Spain and the UK are very close trading partners. There's a very long historical relationship there, and with or without Brexit, trade will certainly continue. Citizens' rights is extremely important, as mentioned today, and furthermore, things such as passporting, if that was to come up, transition of people from the UK to Spain and vice versa, and obviously status of individuals living in Spain and Spanish nationals living in the UK. The message was clear that people should register. This is 100% important. Be on the padron and register, get their residencia, because whether it's a deal or no deal, that's very critical and very, very important. So the message basically is very clear. The UK is obviously does not want to leave. Basically, at the end of the day, it wants a deal. If it does leave, and there's no question of that, it also wants to make sure that citizens' rights again are maintained and respected on both sides of the border. So the government currently is positive. There's a long way to go.
but the working relationship between Spain and the UK seems to have come closer in the last few months, because at the end of the day we all need each other, and at the end of the day as well, organisations like the British Chamber of Commerce in Spain, which represents over 300 businesses large and small, are very important what our members think and our members do. The other agencies we work with from the UK, like the Department of International Trade, and other agencies as well, including the British Council. All of these agencies are working together to make sure that the impact of Brexit is minimised and we can see a clear future. It's our hope that a deal will be done and we can leave in an orderly fashion.
Buenas tardes a todos. Estamos aquí en el cuarto seminario del Brexit que organiza el Ayuntamiento de Manilva. Este seminario se organiza, que vienen representantes de la Embajada Española, hay representantes de los ayuntamientos tanto de Manilva como de Casares, profesionales como somos abogados, administradores de fincas que formamos parte del panel. Y lo que se hace, de lo que se trata estos seminarios es de hablar de las preocupaciones que tienen los propietarios británicos o los residentes británicos en el municipio de Manilva y de Casares y otros municipios colindantes por el Brexit. Como todos deberíais de saber ya, el Brexit tendrá lugar el 29 de marzo y hay dos posibilidades, hay dos escenarios completamente distintos. Puede que haya un acuerdo o puede que no haya acuerdo. Esto significa que el Reino Unido saldrá de Europa de una manera más suave si hay acuerdo, es decir, que habría varios años para llegar a todos los distintos tipos de acuerdos que hay en materia comercial, en materia de sanidad, en materia de residencia, de posibilidades de viaje dentro de lo que es Europa, y bueno, ya veremos cómo afecta al resto del mundo. O un no Brexit, o sea, un no deal, que significa que no hay acuerdo. El tema si no hay acuerdo significa que el Reino Unido tendrá que llegar a acuerdos directamente con España, tendrá que hacer acuerdos específicos, como el que se ha visto en las noticias recientemente por la capacidad de poder ser elegido en las elecciones municipales que vienen ya mismo y la posibilidad también que tenemos los británicos de poder votar en esas elecciones. Básicamente las preocupaciones mayores que hemos visto en el día de hoy aquí son acerca de la cobertura sanitaria. No se ha visto que las personas de cara al Brexit vayan a querer volver a su país, porque los británicos que tenemos aquí, entre los que me incluyo, estamos muy arraigados en España y estamos muy arraigados en nuestros municipios, en nuestro lugar de vida, así que no nos queremos tener que trasladar de vuelta. Pero existen esas preocupaciones. En cuanto a materia de sanidad, todo el que tenga la sanidad, pues va a haber unos acuerdos bilaterales, porque también hay muchos españoles, no lo olvidemos, que residen permanentemente en el Reino Unido, que son profesionales, que tienen su familia allí y su vida hecha aquí. Así que lo más normal y lo más lógico es que haya acuerdos bilaterales. Pero hay muchos casos específicos que tendrán que tratar los gobiernos para poder avanzar en estas materias. Sanidad, como ya hemos dicho, uno de los más importantes. Otro de los temas que se ha tratado mucho, el tema de la frontera con Gibraltar, porque hay muchísimas personas residentes en nuestro municipio que trabajan diariamente en Gibraltar. ¿Qué pasa con esto? Que si no hay un libre movimiento, digamos, entre España y el Reino Unido, habrá más dificultades para estos trabajadores transfronterizos, que es lo que son al final del día. Así que necesitamos un acuerdo. El gobierno de Gibraltar obviamente quiere que haya acuerdo porque a ellos les afecta también, pero a nosotros nos interesa que esos trabajadores puedan seguir residiendo aquí y trabajando allí, porque al final del día son miles de puestos de trabajo y son unos recursos económicos que después se reinvierten en nuestro municipio y en los municipios colindantes, en nuestros comercios, en nuestros restaurantes y en nuestras tiendas. Y necesitamos esto para la ayuda del motor económico de nuestra localidad o de nuestras localidades. Básicamente el mensaje que se ha dado es que el trabajo empezará cuando pase el 29 de marzo y cuando ocurra el Brexit, con acuerdo o sin acuerdo, que habrá diferentes trámites según la dirección que se tome. Y la primera recomendación y la más importante que se ha dado a todas las personas que residen aquí, que sean extranjeros, ojo, británicos o de cualquier otra nacionalidad, es que arreglen sus papeles, que tengan su residencia, que tengan sus papeles en orden, su carnet de conducir, que estén en el padrón y que sean residentes legales en nuestros municipios para que el día de mañana no tengan que enfrentarse a una problemática más complicada. Así que agradecer a todos los asistentes, agradecer a todo el panel, al embajador y a la cónsul británicos que han venido al municipio de Manilva a dar este cuarto seminario de Brexit y desde aquí, desde Manilva y en representación del Colegio de Administradores de Fincas de Málaga y Melilla, Johnny Burnett. Muchas gracias.
Okay, so today, for the 4th year running, we've celebrated a seminar where there have been different speakers ranging from our honourable and most important guest, Mr. Simon Manley, the British ambassador to Spain. It's been a very interesting seminar. There have been all sorts of questions across the board about Brexit, and other persons on the panel have been the Vice President of the British Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Derek Langley. We've also had Alex Radford from My Lawyer Spain answering legal questions. We've had Charmaine, the British consul. We've had Joni Burnett from the official College of Administrators in Malaga. We've had representation of La CaixaBank, one of Spain's largest banks, and that is supporting as well Britons in Spain after Brexit in any of its shapes or forms. And I could talk on for quite a while about all sorts of different things that have been mentioned or talked about or discussed or debated today. But the most important question and response to everything that's been talked about is, and the message is, that if you are a resident in Spain or you are planning to live in Spain for the rest of your life or for any period of time, get your residency certificate sorted out as soon as possible. It is the only document that will give you any kind of protection, either to a soft or a hard Brexit. Whichever the outcome of Brexit, you must have for any kind of protection whatsoever, so you can carry on enjoying your life in Spain as you have had up until now, will be your green certificate of residencia in any of its shapes and forms. And another thing that was brought up today of importance, which was a common question, is mine says it's non-permanent, or not that it's not permanent, it doesn't say that it's permanent. It's irrelevant. If you have the green certificate, that green certificate is a certificate that you need to protect your rights and enjoyment to carry on living in Spain. The ambassador, Simon Manley, also stated that within the negotiations, but this isn't for tomorrow, but at some point in the future, depending on which way the Brexit happens, you may have to apply for a new kind of residency permit in the future, but that the rights under which you got your original licence will be the same. It might just be the change in format of the kinds of residencia card or certificate that you have in the future. With that, thank you very much and good night.
Bueno, unos 200 vecinos de Manilva, de nacionalidad británica, han querido esta tarde compartir con nosotros, bueno, la cuarta seminario sobre el Brexit, ¿no? Yo creo que ha estado muy interesante. Antes de nada me gustaría agradecer al embajador británico en España, Simon Manley, que nos haya querido acompañar una vez más en Manilva, representante máximo del Reino Unido aquí en España. Y bueno, ha estado muy interesante. La verdad es que hay mucha incertidumbre, pero creo que todos los acuerdos bilaterales que se firmarán entre España y el Reino Unido facilitarán el día a día de los vecinos y vecinas de nuestra localidad, de todos los residentes en España. Creo que es muy interesante que sigamos apostando por informar a todos los vecinos, en este caso de la nacionalidad británica, que viven con nosotros. Ellos tienen muchas dudas y la verdad es que ha sido muy interesante y muy constructivo para ellos.